So one of the big boys just came out, Claude Opus 4.6, and I'm genuinely curious to try it out. And aside from that, there are a few other really interesting updates from Anthropic aside from the model itself that I want to try out. So we will quickly go through what's new. And then instead of just reviewing the metrics, I want to see how it actually performs by building a real software tool and not just a simple landing page or something of a similar fashion. Let's get straight to it. If you go through the official announcements page, you will realize in the first few phrases that they have introduced a 1 million token context window. And this is an approximate 4 times increase to the context window that Opus 4.5 had. And this is a big advantage, especially if you're doing AI-assisted coding or vibe coding. And for those of you that are not really clear on context window, this is specifically referring to how much it can take as context at the input stage. So you can have an input stage and then at the output stage. This is referring to the input stage. And essentially this means, well, it just relates to how much information Claude can keep in its head at the same time to consider and then generate an output from. And so with this, Opus 4.6 can read larger code bases and just take more as context. But you should take this with a pinch of salt. I believe that vibe coding best practices are still in effect. So if you're building an application or some sort of software tool, break down the main objective into smaller tasks and go task by tasks. This just means that it's going to be able to retain much more information from the code base. And I forgot to say that this is especially important for workflows where you plan first and then you revise and you go through that loop before actually building, which I recommend to anybody that is vibe coding. And also for long refactors, also for really complex applications, and most importantly, another feature which is called agent teams, which we're going to go through in a second. They are also aiming to make it better at everyday work tasks. So AGI is coming closer than we think. So they want to make it better at running financial analysis, doing research, creating documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. And this is all able to happen inside Cowork, which is another of their products that they are working on. So if we look into this, this is a little glimpse at AGI. So they actually want to embed it in your workplace by allowing it to organize your desktop files. So this is pretty interesting. And if you want, I'll leave the link to it in the description and you can access this via the macOS app. And as always, we get to the LLM evaluations. And yeah, with this part, well, don't get too caught up in the evaluations because in my opinion, they don't say much. As always, with every new model release, the metrics are going to be better than the previous models. This is just how it is. And it's always going to be a constant fight between what model from what company has the best metrics. So at this point, it doesn't make any sense comparing them. Well, at least I checked them and they're nothing crazy. And aside from the metrics, they also like giving a little sting to OpenAI, saying that obviously, we're outperforming the latest GPT model as well. And so if we actually look at the metrics, we'll see for knowledge work, which is a measure on how well it performs across several professional domains, we see that Opus 4.6 is king. For agentic search, it's also as well compared to the industry-leading competitors over here, such as Google Gemini's Deep Research and GPT-5.2 Pro as well. So for multi-step agentic research. For coding, it's reasonably close to 5.2 codex from GPT over here using the codex CLI, which is pretty impressive. OpenAI is really pushing the game here with agentic coding. They're realizing that it's a really important domain to master. And regarding reasoning, I was expecting GPT-5.2 to come out a bit higher than Opus 4.6, but with the use of tools, it's still the highest performing one in the market at the moment. And now we have the key updates that I wanted to discuss in this video and that we are going to test out. And for the main feature that I'm most excited about in Claude Code, which is still experimental, is agent teams. All right, so since I had a read at this and it was a bit confusing for me, I decided to make a few little diagrams with the hopes that this becomes a bit clearer for you to understand how this new feature works and how it compares to the use of sub-agents. So on the left here, we have the sub-agent architecture and we have 2 phases. So the first phase or stage is where we as a user go to the orchestrator, right? The main agent, and then we give it instructions. So the instructions are going to be given to the sub-agents, right, to the different sub-agents, and they're going to do their thing, they're going to do their task, and once their task is complete, their outputs are going to go to the orchestrator, okay? And the orchestrator is the one that has the context or the memory. So the orchestrator is going to be able to iterate with this memory, and it's going to think about what the outputs are and then decide on a final output. So this is the second step over here. So once the sub agent is done with the task, they're going to generate an output, and then the orchestrator will decide, will merge these together and also decide with the shared context what the final answer should be, and then that's given to me, the user. And so the main points with this is that the sub agents don't have a shared long-lived memory, okay? All of them have kind of separate memories, right? Separate contexts. And so the main things with the sub agent architecture is that there's no shared long-lived memory between the sub agents, okay? There's no cross-agent collaboration, so the sub agents are not collaborating with each other. They're kind of isolated within their own environments. There's no awareness of each other. There's still parallel execution. It's possible, right? Sub agents working at the same time. That's completely fine. There's centralized control and there's centralized decision-making by the orchestrator, okay? So those are the main things with the sub agent architecture. Okay, so second one, with the agent team architecture, which is the new feature over here, we give the main instruction, the main objective as a user to the orchestrator, okay? The orchestrator sends the objectives and instructions to each team member. And then what happens is that all these team members have a shared context, okay? The context can be a means to communicate with each other. So they're going to be able to drop messages so that each team member can add on top of it. But also the shared memory also is a collection of the code base, for example, and pretty much everything that they need in order to accomplish the task, okay? So similar to the way agents work, right? Because they're agents, they just have a different name. They're going to do the task, they're going to access different NCPs, whatever they need. And once they have an output, that is going to go onto this shared context as well. And then the orchestrator is going to, in a live way, right? Because the answer might not be final, it's going to be able to oversee what's going on. One of the key differences here with the orchestrator is that in this case, the orchestrator is not micromanaging tasks, right? The main goal with the orchestrator here is that it defines the goals, it assigns the roles, okay? And then it decides when to intervene when it sees that there's enough answers and enough reliability with the outputs in the shared context. And then once it thinks that this is the case, then it's going to grab it, okay, grab the outputs and then share it to the user. So it's more of like standing back, watching the team members work with each other, and then decide, when to step in and grab the answers. So it's more of a passive role that the orchestrator is having here with this architecture. And so by explaining this, you probably understand some of the advantages, right? So first of all, they have a shared unified context, right? And through this unified context, the team members talk to each other. So they would drop notes, okay? And then each team member can read and in parallel, or maybe not, just talk with each other, right? Add different outputs and just communicate in that way. That's how they're able to communicate with each other. So there's also awareness of each other's work. So each agent can see what others have contributed, kind of adding on top of the previous point that I made. As I said before, parallel execution is also possible. And yeah, so through all this, you understand that there's some sort of decentralized reasoning. So thinking happens across the team, not only in the orchestrator. So as I said, the orchestrator takes more of a passive role, kind of a hive mind in this sense, right? Very much more autonomous. But this doesn't mean that you should always use agent teams. There's a use case for each, right? So you need to choose based on whether your workers or your agents need to communicate with each other or not. So here are this is a very well put description on how each work based on context, communication, coordination, and when it's best for, and also token costs. Because honestly, the token costs with agent teams are much higher, right? Because each agent is a separate Claude instance, it's a separate model. So you would use sub-agents when you need quick focus workers that report back, right? And you want full granular control. But if you want to go YOLO mode, right, and let it loose, then that's when you can let the teammates share findings, challenge each other, and coordinate on their own. And that's the main point over here with sub-agents, is that they have more autonomy. Right, so let's go ahead and test Opus 4.6 and the agent teams feature. So I have opened over here VS Code, which is an IDE. If you don't know, an IDE stands for an integrated developer environment. This is where we are going to essentially develop our code. Well, not us in this case, Opus 4.6 will. And what I have done is, well, I have created the folders for the project, right? We will be building a project from scratch. So I want to build a AI-assisted video editor to help me with my videos for YouTube. So what I have done is I have created the app folder, which is blank. I've created a Docker folder as well. If you don't know what Docker is, it's fine, but essentially this is going to help us isolate certain parts of this project so that other team members can, install this project, this app, and run it a bit easier. It also helps with production, but if you don't know what it is, that's fine. Not the concern of this video. I also have some documentation. So I will go through the reference UI now, but very important that you plan your project and you really think how you want your project to look like and your app to look like before even getting to the AI coding or the vibe coding, right? So what I have done is I have thought about how I want my project to work and look like. So the first thing over here is that I have thought about the user flow, right? How is the user going to go through my project? What are the steps in order to get to the output that the user desires, right? So in this case, the user would hit record, upload a clip, we transcribe it, segment it, then we edit it, and then we can export the video, okay? Very, very nice, very simple. You want to keep the scope of the first version of your project very simple. Otherwise, the language models with coding, they're just gonna go everywhere. So this is because LLMs are not deterministic in nature. So the tighter the scope, the higher the chance that they are going to develop the code accurately without any errors. That's why I really recommend when building a project, first build your version 1, the minimum viable product that you can get out there in the market. That's what I'm doing, keeping the scope really small. And after I understand how the user flow is going to look like, then I try to imagine how the UI is going to look like, the user interface and the user experience. So the first way in which I do this, the first step is I actually go to my iPad or a piece of paper if you have, and I draw it. I draw it. You can use boxes instead of drawing it with an iPad. But yeah, you see how you want it to look like. You visualize the main concepts of each page on your app, and then, well, you try to refine it, right? You can perfectly chat with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you want. That's what I did in this case. Okay, and I got to this point where I have, this is called an ASCII diagram, ASCII diagram. It's in Markdown, and this was created by ChatGPT. So now it gives me an easy way to visualize my user interface. Much better to see this than looking at my drawings, right? So I wanted something easy that we could visualize. The next step is to put it into something that, well, is able to interpret your UI much better. So what I use now is I use something called Google Stitch, okay? It's still an experimental tool, but essentially helps you plan out how the user interface is going to look like with AI. So what I have done is that I have taken these screenshots over here, taken a screenshot of each step, okay? And I have added them onto here, and I described how I want each page to look like, okay? I used ChatGPT to prepare a well-defined prompt, and then it prepared me all this, right? It prepared me all of these different pages that will describe the user journey and how it looks like, okay? So once that's done, then I just grab everything, I download it, okay? And then it will download it as HTML code, which is a code version of what you see visually, and also the image in the form of a PNG file. Then what I did is I added them onto this folder. You see here, I numbered them from numbers 1 to 7 so that the coding agent is able to understand the steps in the user journey, right? So obviously it starts with 1, right? To make it a bit more sensical or logical for the agent to understand. So I don't need to describe every single thing about the UI, right? And this is reference UI. Then I also have a PRD, right? A PRD stands for Project Requirements Document. So this goes in a bit more technical. It gives you a description of the user flow in text. It gives you everything that you need essentially for Claude Code to understand the project a bit better. If you want me to leave you a prompt that you can add on to ChatGPT to help you out with preparing a PRD, let me know in the comments below. And this folder over here, well, it's a project that I was working on previously in order to understand how each of the flows were going to work, right? Because I have different flows to generate visuals with Video 3.1. So I was exploring already this in a separate app that doesn't look great, but I added it here just to add additional context. The more defined your project is, the less chance the AI hallucinates. So that's the goal that what I'm doing here. So give it as much context as possible. Now, if you want to install Claude Code over here, because VS Code does not have Claude Code installed by default. So once you download VS Code, you would want to go to the extensions tab over here and then literally search for Claude Code. Once you search for Claude Code, you can click over here and you can install it. Once you have done that, you can go onto the file section to see all your code, if you have any. I will place it over here so you can just drag across. So this opens a terminal, and if you want to open a Claude Code window, you will see that now, because you have installed Claude Code, you have this little Claude icon over here on the right. So you can click that and this would open Claude Code. So now you want to be able to try out Opus 4.6. So with this open, you're going to do / and then select the model. So switch model. It would by default select Sonnet 4.5, but you just want to click Opus 4.6. And if for some reason you don't have Opus 4.6 installed, what you can do is open the terminal window. So over here on the top right, you can open the terminal panel over here and then just type this command, Claude model Claude Opus 4.6, right? So once you hit enter, it should install the model for you, right? In this case, I already have it installed, so that's why it doesn't do much. So that's pretty much it. And obviously, you gotta make sure that you have signed up to one of the plans with Claude. So you're either on the monthly plan with them or you have an API plan. I would recommend you, if you know you're gonna use Claude Code very often, you choose one of their monthly plans. You can start with just the low plan, but I feel like you're gonna run out of context. So yeah, you can see here that you have the max plan on the 5X, which is $100 per month, or if you want to go crazy, you can get a $200 per month plan. What I want to do now is I want to set a proper app scaffold, a proper app template or structure. Because then, once again, this avoids the LLM, the coding agent, right, in this case Claude Code, to reduce the chances of it creating random artifacts that are just going to break the whole thing. So I want to make sure I cd onto the app folder. Okay, cd means change directory. I'm going to the app folder, so I'm inside the app folder now. And now what I am going to do is put this command over here, which is going to create me the scaffold, right? I'm going to be working using Next.js, okay, which is a framework. And yeah, I'm going to install the latest framework available. Sorry, the latest scaffold available. So I'm going to hit enter inside my app folder, by the way, and it's going to take us through a little wizard. So we need to install the following packages, okay? We hit yes. Would you like to use the recommended Next.js defaults? Yes. So we are installing some dependencies. Okay, we installed all the packages that are needed in order to run the app properly. And that's pretty much it. If you open the folder, you see that we have everything that we need in order to build the app. But you see here that we have two folders named app, okay, which is a bit confusing. So what you would like to do is, well, change it, okay, just for the sake of keeping it clean. So I'm gonna rename this folder and we're gonna call it web. All right, once here, now we need to actually enable the agent teams feature. So what we have to do is, let's go into the documentation over here. Let's have a look, what do we need? And we see that they're disabled by default. It makes sense. We can enable it by adding this environment variable, okay, onto our settings.json file or directly on the environment. So if we scroll further down, you will see that we essentially need to add this onto settings.json. It gives you already everything that you have to copy. Copy this, and now we will go back over here. Let's search for settings.json, okay? Over here, we select the first one, and then you might have it empty in case this is one of your first times using Claude Code, but we're gonna add it here. You can either add this manually, so just adding it like that. Let's remove this one over here and this one over here, okay? Or if you have no clue what you're doing or how to add this, you can go back and just say, hey, can you please, well, you need to say, please, can you add this onto my settings.json file at the end, right? I don't know if it's the best use of Opus 4.6 now, because we're using it for a very simple task. But yeah, if you don't want to spend any more tokens, you can go ahead and switch on to the normal model to add this. But yeah, I'm just going to accept that. And there we go, easy peasy. Right, and once we have that, we can well, you can either try it using a prompt that they have over here in order to test the agent teams feature. So it says, I'm designing a CLI tool that helps developers track to do whatever, create an agent team to explore this. But since I want to use it, you know how I love testing things not in a demo environment, but in a real environment. In this case, I'm using it for my own project. Let's go ahead and prepare a proper prompt that allows us to also create an agent team within my actual project setting, because I'm developing a video app. But before actually adding my prompt and then having the agent teams go ahead and do their work, I have committed and pushed what I have currently onto GitHub, even though it's not a lot. Since I don't know what's going to happen, I am saving this, right? I'm committing and pushing to GitHub. If you don't know, GitHub it's a repository where you can, store code and projects in the cloud. And this is because, if we move forward and I see that I don't like what's happening, I can always revert to the state that it's currently at the moment, and I can start fresh, right? So this is why I recommend you, if it's not at the start, maybe at the start and also during key points of your project, to commit and push to your GitHub, right? To your project on GitHub, so that, you're able to save your progress so you can revert back at any point. I know you can do it in Cursor, for example, you can revert back, but this is a safer way. It's like a permanent place where you can always reach out to. So yeah, I really recommend to do this. But yeah, now that this is out the way, I'm gonna open a new conversation just to start clean, and I will be adding my prompt. So instead of adding this simple prompt, as I said, I want to try to break it, push the limits, see what we're actually able to do in a real environment. So let's go ahead and paste this heck of a prompt. So I'm essentially saying, okay, I want you to create an agent team. So we're still going to follow the main principles of this, where, we have one teammate on UX, one on technical architecture, and one playing devil's advocate. So in my case, I will say UX designer agent, architect agent, constraint agent, right? We can just change this to devil's advocate and test agent as well. So I might want to change this. Let's change that just so that we know what all of them are working on. So one teammate on UX, one on technical architecture, one playing devil's advocate, and one in charge of testing the be added, right? So then I say, well, this is the Next.js apps app router, just giving it a little description, giving it a little bit of context on what it has currently. And the main goal is to finish the shell of the production app and implement one vertical slice end-to-end, one vertical feature, right? So this is completely generated by ChatGPT thinking mode. I'm just gonna go ahead and press. So we can switch it in between these different modes. So ask before edit. So before actually making any edits or running any commands, it's going to ask us, do you want to actually make this change? But we're going to go a bit YOLO mode. So we're going to just tell it to just go ahead, edit automatically, see what it comes up with. So here we go. Let's get straight to it. Well, the first thing is that we see that it's writing on this, I don't know exactly where it is located, the place where, it's adding this, but it's definitely as I explained to you before, it's this unified place, right? Where, there's an orchestrator, and the orchestrator is adding the instructions, right? Oh, so we're giving instructions. We're saying, oh, you are the UX designer agent. Oh, this is, okay, so if we click on it, okay, this is that shared thing. So the 4 agents are running. Now we're waiting for them to complete and send back their analyses. Okay, so apparently it did not run the agent team feature because the agents were asking to run bash commands or terminal commands on my behalf. And the way Claude Code was set up as of now was that, I didn't allow them to run terminal commands without my permission. So what I need to do is I need to start a new Claude Code instance. So I will go ahead and delete this. I will restart Claude Code over here. I don't have actually Claude Code run over here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm on my brain repository and run Claude with dangerously skipped permissions mode. Bypass Claude Code will not ask for your approval before running potentially dangerous commands. This mode should only be used in a sandbox container that has restricted internet access and can easily be restored if damaged. Should be fine. I'll take one for the team. So yes, I accept. All right, so I made sure I selected Opus 4 over here. I mean Opus 4.6, sorry. So I just went like this and I selected either the default or number 4. It's the same thing. And I changed the prompt, so I'm gonna use a different prompt. First of all, I want to put this on plan mode. As always, I really recommend to get on plan mode first of all before actually executing, just to reduce the chances of them just hallucinating So I prepared this prompt over here, which I can share with you. Let's see how I could share this. Okay, so I placed it here so you can have a look at it. I'm basically saying, yeah, you're my senior product mind engineer and UI systems architect. What I'm going to put is similar to the other one, just to follow best practices for creating an agent team. So create an agent team. One will research the internet in order to understand best, and then I can delete this. This should do for now. Prepare a plan on building a working all this, okay. And I suggest you do this. I mean, the prompt in this time and age is the most important thing. So make sure you go through it in detail and it matches to what exactly you want to do, or at least as close as possible, right? So I am happy with this. I asked it to create some markdown files at the end for it to use as reference. It can come back and forth with it. I know that it's probably storing everything in memory, but I just want to be able to access it quickly and know where it is, right? So it's an Opus 4.6. I asked it to create team members already, and it's on plan mode. So let's see how this goes. It's running 3 agents right now. So one of them is exploring the reference UI screenshots. One of them is exploring the next UI scaffold. One of them is researching UI best practices. Okay, that's pretty good. And we're gonna let it cook for a bit more. It's been already 10 minutes. My costs are going to be absolutely crazy, but let's wait for it to finish the plan. All right, so it has paused. I like that. I like that it pauses. The reference PNGs show light mode, white backgrounds, light cards. Screen 1 uses a sidebar nav, screen 7 uses a horizontal nav, and the other screens use various stop bars. Peer dimensions, dark mode, mono UI. Oops, that was my bad, but the PNGs should be all light. Oh, nice. Okay. I like that. So I caught a little misunderstanding there. So the PNGs are light, but I mentioned dark mode. So let's do light first. Yeah, keep the scaffold config. That's the whole point. I'm adding it, but replace the default page. Yeah, 100%. That's the point. Submit answers. Let's keep going. All right, I see. So it has written a plan, not where I wanted it to write a plan. I told it to create me an MD file under the docs folder. That's not the best thing, but anyways, I will accept your little mistake because your layout seems legit. Okay, yeah, okay, nice, yes. Okay, let's work on the screens. All right, screw it. Oh, that's not the right, screw it. Screw here. Let's get it. Right, so we see that we're creating a task list and spawning the team members as well, which is a good thing. We are creating documents, UI system docs.md. Okay, where are all these getting added? Okay, great. Foundation setup. We have invoked the UI architect, the devil's advocate as well, is over here. We got the main one, which is the team lead or the orchestrator. Shift and up to expand. You can see that it just created the component engineer just right now. And we can chat individually with each of these team members. So for example, if I want to say something to the UI architect, right? You see that it turns in blue. And I can just say, hey, I don't like the way you did the page number 2, for example, right? I can switch to team lead again, or I can just hide it, right? Pretty cool. Right, so apparently the V1 UI build is now fully complete. 0 errors with the build and lint, 7 screens across 8 routes. So we see here that we have all the MD implementations. And what I'm gonna do with this is that I'm gonna let me create a new terminal. Let me grab this, I'm gonna turn this into the main chat window in case I need to run anything here on the terminal separately. So we are on $47 of usage in the session. I see. This is unlimited, by the way, so I can always add more. But yeah, that's a decent chunk that I spent on usage. We can see the other feature, auto compact as well. I think that's a new feature. Let's have a look at context. We have used 128,000 tokens out of 200,000 tokens, so we are 64%. I know we have compacted already. Yeah. cdweb and npm run dev. Let's see what it has built. I'm very curious. So let's bring out a fresh window over here, localhost 3000. And wow, whoa, this is really good. Wow, absolutely, absolutely crazy. No, really, this is, you guys know that I never get reactions like this with coding agents. Let's here create a new story. Okay, there you go. Right, so I can switch between this. I can call it tell it test one. The video goal is to explain an idea, create project. How do I want to start? Wow, this is incredible. It even has some, you see the change of states here. So whenever I hover on top, there's a little like zoom in. So in in the sizes of the cards, which is pretty cool. So let's say I want to paste the script. That's, I think, what I planned with the UI. Let's go ahead and do that. Right, I'm able to paste the script. Wow, this is pretty insane. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Look, the important thing is the pages. Okay, I mean, this works so well. The one thing is that the swiper, right, that swipes around does not work properly, but that's completely fine. This doesn't work either. But yeah, this is something that I can work on tomorrow and, push onto production. I need to check, obviously, the code base, do some more checks, but yeah, this works really well. Okay, so now let's say I want to export the video. Okay, so if I want to go back to projects. Oh, but yeah, I mean, guys, this is absolutely insane. Like, I will keep this. I think I will keep this. Absolutely insane. But yeah, you guys saw what it's able to do. And yeah, I don't want to make this video too long, so let's go on to the next part of the video. But I'm happy, very happy with this. And if you go back to just finish on the other updates, we have the use of compaction to summarize its own context. I'm pretty sure that's the feature that we just saw on the terminal over here, and adaptive thinking. So now the model is able to choose, how much thinking it needs, right? Depending on the task. And these are both available on the API. Okay, so I'm using that at the moment, and new effort controls as well. And we've seen also that they have made upgrades in Excel. Claude is able to embed inside Excel. I've personally tried it, and I don't want to say much, but it's a bit better than GitHub's Copilot. There's also progress. Oh, so they're releasing Claude in PowerPoint. I haven't tried this. So yeah, if you get to try it, if you get to try Claude in PowerPoint, let me know. But I would definitely be interested in trying this out. Pretty cool. The pricing remains at $5 or $25 per million tokens. I guess this is for input and this is for output. That would make a lot of sense. And yeah, so in order just to recap, well, we see all the other metrics over here. So it's leading in most of it, except for graduate, visual reasoning, and multilingual Q&A. Makes me think that Opus 4.6, the Opus models are still the best at coding, right, and agentic use. And then for everyday Q&A and just general reasoning, I think the GPT models are dominating. We got some other metrics, and that's pretty much it. So just to summarize, we've covered adaptive thinking briefly. We talked about briefly this as well. We saw the context compaction on the terminal. The 1 million token, well, we were not able to try this out. And yeah, well, I mean, you got to see the other updates as well. So that's pretty much it. I don't know why anybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about Claude Code now on Opus 4.6, but I would think to just share this really quickly as well. GPT-5.3 Codex also has pretty good metrics, and you can see previews of them testing it for creating games. Pretty nice upgrades as well from GPT-5.3 Codex. Haven't tried it yet personally, but it looks promising. Feel free to try it out, but that's pretty much the end of the video. I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know your comments about Opus 4.6 if you tried it for some other tasks, and if you have seen any crazy improvements on top of Opus 4.5. Let me know if you tried agent teams as well, and any other of the features and upgrades and releases that I've talked through you on this video. If you have any other suggestions for videos to make in the future, please let me know down in the comments below. If you didn't like the video for some reason, also let me know in the comments below. Any feedback is good feedback. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I do appreciate it a lot. And yep, that's pretty much it. If I missed anything, also let me know in the comments below. But for now, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.